and welcome back to AR77. Today we're going to talk about something which is it's an important thing to a lot of replica collectors, and that is ports, ejection ports. Now, for the most part, the cheaper the gun, the less well you will do when it comes to an ejection port. But that's not always the case. So we've got three different types of gun, if you will, and we're going to look at what you can expect for your money from an ejection port point of view for each type of gun, ranging through the sort of the increasing cost. All will become clear when I go into it in a bit more detail. Why is it so important to have an ejection port when you don't need it? Well, for a lot of people it's not. A lot of people, you go, well, actually, there's no spent shell casing to eject. Therefore, on my air gun, as long as it looks like it's got a decent ejection port, I don't actually care if that ejection port works. There are others of us, though, myself included, who do prefer it to be a cutaway hole and a proper ejection port. Even though it doesn't eject anything, it's nice to have, especially when you are locked back, when you have your slide locked back and you've got your mag out and you can see through the gun. There's something about it that just adds a level of authenticity to your replica collection. That said, there's no guarantee that the more expensive a gun is, the better it will be designed in terms of an ejection port. So there's all sorts of things to take into consideration. It could be a very short video, this, although knowing my tendency to waffle on and my enthusiasm for just getting as many guns out as I can at any one time, it could last a little bit longer. So thanks in advance for your patience. Okay, so the three different, I'm saying loosely, types of gun that we're going to be looking at is the kind of 1911 style pistol. We're going to look at Glocks, and we're going to look at Sigs. I say 1911 because not each of the 1911s that I bring out today is going to be branded Colt. But all the Sigs are branded and licensed by Sig, and likewise for the Glocks. So, where should we start? Let's start with Sig, shall we? Let's get rid of the Glock and get rid of the Colt Defender, and we'll come back to both of those pistols shortly. Now, this is the Sig Sauer X5. This is a 20 round pellet pistol, blowback pellet pistol. Very heavy, very big, nice and shiny, and a whole lot of fun. I really enjoy this gun just because, you know, I think it's childish. The child in me is kind of saying the bigger the better. You know, I used to watch films like Bad Boys, and you'd see somebody bringing out a chrome-plated Desert Eagle or something like that, or something as big as this. I always got a bit of a thrill from that, a bit of gun lust, I suppose, and I've never really grown out of it. So I really like this, really big and hefty in the hand, and really stands out in that silver. I do quite like it in the black finish as well. It's not the best finish to a gun, and yet I still really quite like it. I digress, though, because although this is a big kind of, what would you call it? Kind of, well, significant entry really to the pellet pistol, replica pellet pistol market, and it carries quite a hefty price tag. It's up there closer to sort of £200 if you can get hold of them. I don't think it's easy to get hold of the silver ones as much anymore. You might pick up a black one a bit more easily. We still don't have a cutout. I know, that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. That's a scratch. We still don't have that cutout ejection port because there's nothing to throw out, and they just want to keep that housed. I don't know. I just think they could have done better with that. That's the one thing I would say that significantly lets this gun down in terms of the aesthetics. It's that lack of cutout ejection port, and possibly I would have liked a bit more of a recessed barrel at the business end there at the muzzle. Other than that, it's a beautiful looking gun, especially under this light as well. It kind of really catches that nicely. I really like that, but I do wish at that price tag that ejection port was cut out. Let me give you a comparison. And actually, I'll have to eat my words now because this isn't fully licensed. This is this kind of unlicensed KWC version of the SP 2022, also by Sig. This is very, well, I say very cheap. Still cost you the best part of £100, although you might be able to pick one up for 50, 60 these days. And it doesn't have a working slide. The slide is fixed. It's metal, but it's fixed. And yet, at least the ejection port looks kind of authentic. It's separate pieces. It's kind of plastic there. That the cover there is plastic, but it's a separate piece of plastic, so it looks like it works properly. It looks like, so although you don't get the pleasure of kind of the slide rolling back and that being exposed and it being a kind of a void there, a hole, if you will, a port, at least it looks like it does. So from a replica point of view, I prefer that to that. Price point, significantly different. So you could probably get 3 of those for what it costs to buy one of those. And somewhere in the middle of it all, we have the P365, which I think is the most accurate replica of the 3 of these Sig pistols. As you can see with this one, we can rack the slide. Pinched my glove there. We can rack the slide. Doesn't lock back the full way, but it is still a completely exposed ejection port, and you can see right through the pistol at that point. So every time it fires, that slide is working like that. We've got quite a turbulent relationship with this little dude, but currently we're on very good terms. P365, price point somewhere between these two, and yet that is the most accurate in terms of replica out of those 3 SIGs, I would say. P365, that would be my preferred type of ejection port on the SIGs. Least favourite, although beautiful gun. And for the price, I think these are really good. Really good, these SP 2022s. I think they are released now through a number of different names. There's Norika one, that they have one, I think. I think you can get a Gerber version. You can still get the original Sig Pro SP 2022, and this just unbranded kind of KWC version. These are really good. For a replica airgun, these are brilliant. And it does what it's supposed to do really well. It shoots accurately, and it's very powerful. Highly recommend those. I would never get rid of that, although it's one of the most basic guns I have in my collection. Okay, let's move on to Glock, shall we? Okay, now with Glock, we've got a slightly different story. At the lowest price point, we have the Glock 19. Fixed slide, doesn't move, but it is metal, and the ejection port is not cut out. You can see little indentations, little grooves and things there to try and make it look like it's cut out. But if I compare that to the Sig, it's not quite as realistic, I would argue. Nevertheless, got a nice bit of, everything's falling over, nice bit of writing on there, so it makes it kind of a feature, and arguably you might look at the writing more than you look at the way it sits in the slide there. But for around about £100, although a very simplistic replica airgun, that is worth £100 of anyone's money. This is a really good gun, the Glock 19 Gen 3. BB shooter, hasn't got a cut-out ejection port, but still looks great. And if anything, you kind of get away with it a little bit more because of the kind of squared design that you'd expect from a Glock. Next up, in the kind of the middle of the pack, we have the Glock 19X. This one's in the kind of coyote brown. Again, plastic lower, as per the real steel, metal slide. And this does have this really good kind of contrasting black ejection port, along with all the other details are kind of in black, and it kind of sets the gun off really quite nicely, I think. The light that this is under is making it look a lot more yellow than it is in real life. It's a really nice looking gun, and as you can see, if I roll that back, we do have a kind of a cutout ejection port, but it's got these kind of housing bits here for the top of the mag. So at least, you know, the slide is cut. The slide is cut, and you can see in there, but there's a lot going on once you get in there. But yeah, still better, I would say, preferable to the Glock 19 on that count. If they made a Glock 19 blowback, fully field strippable with an open ejection port, it would fly off the shelves. I guarantee it. It would fly off the shelves. So let's all hope and pray that that day comes. Where are we now? Put some guns down here for a second. Okay, top of the tree. Got the Glock 17. This is the Gen 4, the BB version. And this is kind of what I was describing I would like to see of the Glock 19. This is fully field strippable. The slide does look back after the last shot, and it's got a fully open ejection port. For a replica collector, that's the kind of in my opinion, that's the kind of the holy grail of what you want. You want a fully functioning replica gun that you can rack the slide, you can see the ejection port, you can see through, you can see your mag when it goes up in there, and you can field strip it. Everything about it does what it should. So that's great. Really love that. And that's at the top of the price point. So I think for a Glock 17 Gen 4 BB gun these days, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're looking about 170 quid. About 170 for that. Maybe 120, 130 for that, I think. And £100 would probably get you quite easily a Glock 19 with that fixed metal but fixed slide. Okay, so last but by no means least, let's look at our 1911 style pistols. First out of the hat then is the Colt Defender. A really lovely little gun this. I really enjoy shooting this still to this day. Full metal, so it's got a really nice weight to it. I like the fact it's got that Colt branding there. It's not 100% an accurate representation. Obviously the trigger isn't quite how it should be, but still a nice hunk of metal and fun to shoot and powerful as well. You can get these for well under £100 these days if you find yourselves in the right part of the country. Online, they probably cost a bit more because obviously you're going to pay shipping and so on and so forth. Again, it's a fixed slide. It's a metal slide and it has no cutout ejection port. This does have this. It's a silver sticker. And I think the same thing exists on the, what is it, the CZ, well, the Jericho. Is it 41 or something like that? S41, something like that anyway. They kind of put these stickers on so it looks like you've kind of got a stainless barrel there underneath it somehow, or stainless ejection port or whatever. Yeah. I don't know, from a distance it looks quite cool. It sets the gun off quite nicely. You wouldn't know it was a sticker necessarily unless you got right up close and personal. So for that, points, kudos for trying. But I wish it had a moving slide. And once again, similar to the Glock 19, if you brought out a Colt Defender sized replica airgun with a proper 1911 style trigger that was field strippable, you could rack the slide, dare I say it, finish it in a stainless finish, the whole thing, or a two-tone finish, it would fly off the shelves. I'm willing to bet money on that. In fact, I'll put my money on it. If they do bring one out, I'll buy one straight away. So that's my promise to you, Umarex or ASG or whoever else out there. KWC, pull your finger out. Next up, we've got another 1911 style pistol, very similar. I guess with the horse we can use the term stable mates. These two, very similar. I've shown them together in the past, and you can see that they're kind of made around the same sort of time by Umarex. Got the same kind of what do you call it? Grip medallions, I guess you call them. Here, same kind of not accurate style, not accurate to the 1911 style trigger, but same as each other. And you can see that sort of from those kind of, they're Novak. Novak sights, or are they the other sort? Anyway, those same sort of sights. I never remember which are Novak and which are... I forget, and I digress. Anyway, so let's move that out of the way. Let's look at the Colt Special Combat. Once again, by Umrex. Nice looking gun. Not 100% accurate in terms of being a replica, but still a nice looking 1911 in my opinion. And this does have that cutout slide, but once again, it doesn't go all the way back. This is a non-blowback gun, so it's double action or single action, but it never blows back. Although you can, as you saw there, you can rack the slide to cock the gun. Yeah. When the slide is back, the port, it is cut out. You can see right there through. You can see my pinky there, but it doesn't come all the way back, so it's not fully exposed. Nevertheless, I much prefer that to the Defender. Okay, so last but by no means least, the way I believe things should be done, and yes, I know I'm biased, the KWC 1911. This is the Swiss Arms tactical rail system in stainless, and this is a really nice representation of a 1911 style pistol, based on the Kimber Warrior, I believe. The serrations and the trigger and the hammer and the grip, the rail and everything lead me to believe that they've kind of taken the style cues from the Kimber. But in terms of ejection port, once again, you have this kind of chrome effect here, very similar to the one you have on the Colt Special Combat there. The difference being when you rack this slide, it stays right back and you have a fully exposed ejection port. Once again, this pistol is fully field strippable. Yeah, it should be like that, in my opinion. Now, I've gone through 3 different types of guns. I've shown you, I mean, this is, you know what, probably comparable in price to this. You'd go for the Special Combat if you particularly liked that sort of two-tone styling and a bit of a blingy looking kind of gun with those faux wood grips. If you are 100% determined to get an accurate replica, you're probably not going to want this or the Defender because of that trigger. Having said that, currently we live in a world where beggars can't be choosers, and when it comes to airgun replicas, if you want a Defender style gun, you've not got many other options other than that, certainly in 4.5mm or .177 caliber. So if you like either of those guns, you're going to go for them. 0 ejection port there, bit of an ejection port on the Special Combat, and as I said before, the way things should be done, i.e. the KWC 1911 there. Really nice. Is it a big deal? Well, if you look at, as I said before, the Glock 19, that is an excellent airgun. 100 quid. The slide doesn't move, you can't field strip it. All you can do is load it and shoot it. But it's so much fun, and it's such a nice chunky little square piece of gun in your hand. Really nice that. Again, the Defender, I love the weight of it. I've done a video on sort of more compact guns, and I'm probably repeating myself as I tend to do. Again, a nice chunk of metal, heavy metal in your hand there. All it does is shoot, but it does it well. Both of these guns are really quite powerful, kind of around the sort of 400 feet per second mark for both of those. I'd say the Glock is a bit more of an accurate gun than the Defender, and it's a lot more modern looking. Of course, it looks a lot more modern than the sort of the hammer-fired 1911 style Defender. But I would have to say, for around about 60 quid, if you can get a hold of one of these SIGs, the SP 2022, no, it doesn't have a cut-out ejection port, but the slide is obviously cut out, and I think that really works quite nicely. I know it doesn't slide back or anything like that, but the fact that the slide is cut out makes it just look a little bit more realistic, in my considered opinion. Yeah, so it's up to you really how important it is to have that cut-out ejection port. Like I say, you've got a fully cut-out port here on the on the on the P365 by Sig. That's all well and good, but these guns aren't without their problems, and for a lot of people, they go, that's quite a small gun as well. I've got bigger hands that you might think. I don't. My hands are kind of, I would say, regular size to small, perhaps, and that fits quite nicely in my hand, especially when it's got the where is it? When it's got the mag in, you can see that it gives you a bit extra to grip hold of. So that has a fully cut out port, but there's other things with the gun. Again, with the Glock here, with a bit of a cut out port, but not fully. And yet, if you want that gun, you're going to want that particular one because it's so specific in terms of its styling. So you're not exactly spoilt for choice. So again, I'll leave it up to you. Any comments you want to add, just drop them into the chat function or whatever it's called on YouTube. We'll leave that one there as well because it's pretty. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it sparks a little bit of discussion, perhaps. Let me know what you think. Is it a deal breaker for you? Do you need that ejection port, or do you go, actually, I'm more concerned about whether the gun is accurate and whether it's powerful, or whether it just looks like it's got dials and switches and bells and whistles in the right place externally. Let me know in the comments. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, share. Yeah, do take care of yourselves. Stay safe. All the best. Bye.